And 3, 2, 1. Push, mate. Kick, 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 push, push, and relax. Beautiful. All right, let's unhinge it.
Mick, what would be the earliest time point you start this testing?
Earliest time point to start this testing? Oh, look, I did one the other day on a patient who was 8-10 weeks post-op. That's probably the earliest I might bring it in, but it's also too just to set expectations. Because usually by 3 months, some people are just flying and they think they're doing well. They've got running in their head at 3 months. And if they're at 8 weeks post-op and they've got a 70% quad difference, which most of them probably have, or at least 50 to 70% quad difference at that time point, it's a really tough ask to get us to a reasonable level to handle running at that 3 month mark. So I'm probably just using it more so to gather their thoughts and sort of manage their expectations and maybe set them a little bit different. But conversely, someone tests awesome. You know, you test them at 8 weeks and there's only a 20% quad difference and their quads are in really good nick and they're mentally, physically in a good place. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, that 3 month goal it's on the cards. So I think probably at that point, there's probably some value in doing it at 8 weeks to 10 weeks. But generally speaking, yeah, probably 3 months and beyond is kind of like my standard practice. But someone that's really pushing it and they're really pushing you as a clinician and you want to sort of give them some evidence to justify what your decision process is like, then I think there's some value in doing it a little bit earlier. Yep. So we all gather around here. So you want to come up here? Can you see this one sec? So we can all sort of see. So Zach's testing on his left-hand side, his peak Newton score, his best effort he could get out of his leg was 624. His right was best 458, leaving us with about a 25% symmetry between the two for that peak output. For one of those 3 efforts, he could squeeze out those numbers. His average, if we sort of hit the average button, it actually wasn't too bad between the two muscle groups. So his average on his left was about 449. His right was 424. So he's pretty good, like in terms of that average symmetry over those 3 reps. But definitely his peak output, there's a decent difference there between the two legs. So 25% certainly sitting on that cusp for me, like in terms of running. So I think my goals, if I'm sort of using some metrics to guide people's return to running, I'd be sort of looking at a minimum 30% quad symmetry, so 70% limb symmetry index would be kind of like my quads test. So you kind of get in there, you sneak in there, which is good, but it's also too a bit of an interesting time point because like I've seen a lot of people sort of start that return to running process when you measure their quads and they're 30% on the dot or they're sort of 25 and 20 and they're doing okay. They're kind of the ones that are really hard to predict. Will they still be running in a month's time and successfully building up their returning running and their mileage, or are they 2 or 3 runs in and starting to get swollen again? I find that it's hard to predict how those people will play out. But it's certainly a watch and wait period with people when they're trying to run, when they're sort of hanging around in that sort of 25 to 30% quad symmetry. So yeah, certainly watch and wait there, Matt and Zach too, like with that kind of stuff when we're looking at the quads. Now, I think in terms of the output too, which is also really interesting. So what we would need to do in terms of getting some rough maths here is how much is your body weight?
It's about 84.
84.
Yeah.
So 84 kilos times 10 is giving us 840 newtons. So we've got then, if we're sort of using that in relative terms, my sort of experience with this kind of stuff is that certainly with running, you sort of want to be about 75% of your body weight. 70 to 75% of your body weight, I find that most people are starting to tolerate running in their quad. And why it's not just me, it's probably some great clinicians that I've sort of learnt from and have sort of evolved my practice, and why we harp on so much about the quads and maybe not the hamstring or anything else or the glutes, is that the quads are just a tremendous braking force to help protect the knee and to control those forces across the knee. So we know that when your quad strength symmetry is really good, we often tend to have better running patterns and better shock absorbency and better tolerance to running and a lot of other different functional things. So for me, when I'm trying to sort of get people running And those that run successfully, they're probably up around that 75% body weight mark. So if you're 840 newtons body weight, your left side got peak numbers about 650, we're there. We're probably about 80%, okay, on that left-hand side. Your peak effort on the right-hand side is probably about 50% of your body weight. So you can see there's certainly a bit of a mismatch there. So the symmetry difference is only 25%, but when you break it down into body weight difference between left and right, it's much more significant. So we've probably got a little bit, I reckon there's probably a little bit there that we probably want to explore and tidy up and make sure we've got something in the background to help assist you run. I think you obviously got through your first run, so it's great. It's in your system, you're not going to take that away. But it's like, okay, how can we keep you running over this next month is really important, so you don't break down in a couple of weeks with a sore, swollen knee and then